This was a solid episode that introduced us to a new character, Levi, and his squad of just formidable allies, I guess you would say. Titan ass-kickers, if you will.
Whereabouts of his left arm, the struggle for trust, Part 5.
Well, hello, my brothers and sisters and Survey Corps and Titans of the Nerd Nation. I, as always, am Jim, here to bring you another review on the awesome and just engrossing, engaging, thrilling tale of Attack on Titan. Now, of course, our last episode saw us with the end of it being cool. The rogue Titan who we'd seen, running around actually fighting other Titans and seeming to come to the aid of the humans, wound up going and just kind of collapsing to the ground on a heap of pile of just flesh and smoke and whatever. And what emerged from the Titan at the end of it was none other than Eren Yeager. So Mikasa ran to his aid, and I mean, obviously it was a huge shocker for anyone who has not, of course, seen seen the series prior, or of course read the manga or anything like that. So absolutely awesome. My family was entirely floored by it. and seeing it again was still just as cool as the first time, if not better, for me. So that's where things left off, and actually things pick up right where, not right in that spot. We actually go and we're taken away a bit from that for just a little while, and we wind up getting introduced to Levi and Hanji. And really just, this is like the Survey Corps, or the Scout Corps, I believe they call it in here. These are like the badass, like, rock stars of it. We see what is probably about a 5-minute display of just awesome, sheer, pure action. And we find out that this guy, Levi, is really just a badass. He's not to be trifled with, as he goes and takes down a Titan, and then goes and eyeballs. He sees two to one side, one to the other side, sends his team after the one, and says, I'll take care of the two. And I mean, it's just badass, just the way the animation and everything moves. It's so fluid as he goes and he comes across and dodges around one of them and is able to hit it in its, its weak spot and slash it in the back of the head. The other one, as he's coming flying up towards it, he actually goes and ejects his swords out and fires them into his eyes, into the Titan's eyes, lands on its head, and is kind of dancing around on its head before he then goes and gets himself some new swords and takes that bad boy out, man. And really, I think that it was just, for me, it was a showcase to show just how badass and how formidable some humans actually can be. And these people are... And the funny part is, they're actually, in the midst of all this, they wind up getting called to the defense of Trust, to help Trust. So they're somewhere else. They're somewhere else beyond the wall, probably from the part that had been reclaimed by the Titans, obviously, a couple years ago and what have you. So, so again, just very cool to go and see these characters in action. One of the characters actually, was being eaten by the Titan, being bit in half. Levi goes and says some very profound words over him as he's dying. And again, just sounds really good. I really like the voice actor that they have for Levi, and think that they did a wonderful job with it. So then what winds up happening from there on out is we go back to Trost and what happened there, and following, we piece together that following Eren popping out of the Titan and everything else, basically the recruits and cadets that had seen this pretty much just agreed to, like, keep their mouths shut about it and just get inside of the wall, you know what I mean, to safety and what have you. But what we wind up finding, though, is we go and we see Eren through this, it's almost like a dreamlike flashback. We see what happened to him from the moment that he actually, from the inside of the Titan's mouth when he got his arm bit off and everything. And it's actually kind of cool to see it from that perspective. You go and you see it, and even though it's gross as shit, he goes and he slides down the thing's throat and goes into its stomach and everything. And in this stomach, there's just like, it's just like a pool of blood, and there's just like other bodies of humans, some of them still alive that haven't been melted down yet by the extreme heat in the inside of these things. And remember what they told us about these Titans, that they'll go and pass, they're not eating humans for food, because they go and they pass up other food sources and go directly for humans. It's like they're drawn to humans, right? For whatever reason or another. And we go and we see then that when the people go inside of a Titan, when they're actually eaten, if they're not killed already, they basically are like slowly digested, I guess you would say, and just probably killed from like the heat and just being inside one of these just disgusting things, But the cool thing is that we get to see it from Eren's perspective, and he doesn't remember any of what happened. It's almost like a dreamlike type thing. But as he was in the stomach, he goes and he starts to feel his rage and his anger towards the Titans as he kind of sees somebody else in there just like screaming for help as they're like dying. And all of a sudden, he just goes and turns into the Rogue Titan and bursts out of this other Titan. My oldest son liked to call it the Duck Dynasty Titan for its big beard that he had, a big beard and mustache that it had. Looks like one of the guys from Duck Dynasty. But prior to that, we didn't know. We didn't know if Eren actually became part of the Titan that ate him somehow and took over him or what. And we still don't know exactly how he regenerates and how his limbs grow back. But obviously, if he can turn into the Titan, then then that must be why Titans are obviously able to regenerate limbs and things like that, unless they're hitting that weak spot in the back of their head. That weak spot also happens to be where Eren's body came out of from the other Titans. So I don't know if all that kind of mixes together and whatnot, and if it eventually will come to be important. Anyway, what winds up happening though, as we see Eren and Armin and Mikasa, they're all standing there with like a ton of army-type soldier guys around them, all pointing their guns at him. And that Commander Kitz, who they had introduced to us briefly, basically the guy, like on one hand you just want to punch him in the face, but on the other hand the guy's just scared. You know what I mean? They're scared. People are running for their lives and whatnot. Some of them witnessed what did happen. I'm sure obviously some rumblings came about and some people wound up talking and finding out. But anyway, he's freaking out. He's got everybody, and Eren's sitting there like, what the hell's going on? Why is the army pointing their guns at us, And he just asks him, he says, are you a Titan or are you a human, And keep in mind, we've got cannons pointed at you and everything else. And Eren's like, what the fuck, And this is kind of where that whole flashback thing ties into. Eren doesn't remember anything of it, right? So he just goes and answers it after like a really long, drawn-out sequence, right? That took forever, it seemed like. He goes and he answers, I'm human, right? This guy's gonna go, he's like, okay, and he's gonna fire on him anyway. The thing about that is, like, why even bother asking the question? If you've already went and determined that no matter what answer you give, it's going to be the wrong answer, just go in and just do what you're going to do. You know what I mean? I'm so tired of that. I'm so tired of people wanting me to change your mind, but no matter what is said, you're not going to change your mind. You've already got a predetermined response, and that's how you're going to be. And that's what happens with him, right? So anyway, as he's going to go and fire and everything like that, Eren kind of goes into this other little flashback, and we wind up seeing that his father had given him, obviously, some injections and things like that, and whatever his father was working on, and then he talks about the key, and the key, he's got to come back to his house and use the key to get to the basement and all this other stuff, right? And he kind of sees that through this dreamlike thing, and this is right as everybody's about to shoot at him, And the thing about it is that you get a little bit of that background and that exposition. You figure, well, Eren's father must have something to do or must know something, obviously, about these Titans if he was able to go and inject his son with something where he can actually go and transform himself into a Titan. And then what winds up happening, and really at this point, it's not at will. It's really more of a self-defense mechanism. Obviously, when he was eaten and he was inside of the other Titan and he saw all this death and destruction around him, I think his anger brought it out. This time what winds up happening is right as everybody's all the cannon fires coming at him and everything else, it's more of a need to protect. He wants to protect. And it was pretty cool, too, because you see before that, Mikasa goes and stands up and she's like, yeah, I'm the best one here. I'll cut all you down, right? And somebody goes and says, like, she's the best soldier that we have. She's the best one we've ever seen. She's worth 100 men. It would be a great loss if we lost her, But Mikasa basically says, I don't care if you got guns. You're going to have to come through me and I'll slit throats, But anyway, as all this happens and it fires and you go through this flashback and he comes out of it, all of a sudden as the smoke clears, you see that Armin and Mikasa were actually protected by like part of a skeleton, like an exoskeleton, a corpse, if you will, almost like a half corpse of the actual Titan, the rogue Titan that Eren had turned into. But this one's only like partial, just a partial thing of it, I guess. I mean, obviously you could see on the thumbnail that that I put together that what it looks like and everything. If you saw the episode, But it's not like a full Titan, so I'm thinking that it was more of like a self-defense mechanism that was triggered by basically him going just the need to protect his friends, his loved ones, So all in all, though, I mean, a very cool episode. Like I said, on the one hand, you want to slap this commander, this Kitz or whatever, in the face, but on the other hand, I mean, people are scared. There's, people are dying. The shit that went down a couple years ago, and then obviously losing, a fifth of the world's population and everything like that. Those are things that now it's real, but prior to that, it was only like you only heard stories about stuff, and there was 100 years of relative peace, obviously, for the ones that stayed behind the walls. But now you have a lot of people that have been kind of thrown into the mix, and I shouldn't so much say against their will, but thrown into the mix, and they really have to go and rise to the occasion. And some people buckle under that pressure. Some people I mean, deservedly so. I mean, rightfully so. They get scared. You know, let's face it, you get scared, right? You see these man-eating things eating your friends and family and everything like that, you know, and then you go and you see one of them go and kind of melt down, and then all of a sudden one of your guys, one of your recruits, or one of the recruits goes and comes out, and you're like, what the fuck, you know? I'd probably be like, hey, shoot that I probably wouldn't even mess around, but shoot that motherfucker in the head, you know? So, again, all in all, a very cool episode, and certainly it's always a joy and a neat thing to do. And now everybody actually in my household's getting hooked on it. My oldest son James, obviously, he just would not accept that Aaron had died back in episode 5, and he wound up actually watching a few episodes ahead of the subtitled ones through Crunchyroll or Netflix, I think he said it was on. And then, you know, my wife and middle son, they were kind of like, well, I don't know. They were kind of upset about what happened. But after seeing Aaron appear in last week's episode and finding out that he was in fact not dead, they were so eager that it was funny. Normally we don't watch the episode until Sunday when we do some family things. We'll have some time in the afternoon, sometimes in the evening, whatever, we sit down and watch it. We actually wound up watching this Saturday night. It's summertime. Everybody's out of school, of course, you know. And, you know, so we'd stay up a little bit later, and we were hanging out doing something, I forget what. I think we might have even watched a movie. I think we watched one of the Transformers movies, because we had gone to see the Age of Extinction, the new Transformers movie, prior to that, so everybody kind of wanted to just catch up and watch these movies. And then afterwards, you know, my son Logan, the 7-year-old, he's just like, what time is it? And I was like, I don't know, it's about 11:30, you know, and we have it set to tape on the DVR at 11 o'clock, and he goes, oh, good, that means Attack on Titan was on. We can watch that now, you know. And I was tired. I really didn't want to, you know, but I wound up, you know, getting up and grabbing some water or whatever, you know, coming back in the living room and saying, all right, fine, come on, you know. And it's so neat to see and to share that with everybody who's truly excited about seeing that. So, you know, same thing with One Piece and whatnot as well. So, very, very cool stuff. My episode question for you, though, brothers and sisters, is really what are your thoughts on the introduction of Captain Levi and of course, just kind of his badass squad of, I don't know, I guess you would say almost like Spec Ops type guys. You know, these are the ones that have the high kill counts and everything else. Leave your answer to that question in the comments down below. Feel free to hit the thumbs up, the like button if you should think that I deserve it, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. We will look forward to catching all of you in the next one, Nation.
Remember to subscribe to my other channels and follow me on Facebook and Twitter as well.